on this savage journey.
Welcome to another edition of All About the Why. This week, Jason, we're going to talk about the A team. So in regards to sports, in today's culture, a lot of times we have different levels or different teams that kids are trying out for. So when we look at those different levels, how do you see that playing into what greatness is? Does having an A team and then having 3 or 4 levels beyond that deteriorate or diminish someone's greatness?
This is what comes to mind for me. If you have a varsity, a junior varsity, a freshman is usually the setup at most high schools. It's not that breakdown when I'm talking about the A team. It's more on a travel ball, maybe even we take school ball out of it, but it's that creation of a B team now, a C team now, and even a D team now. I know schools and I know organizations that have D teams all within the same age bracket. For me, what comes to mind is at some point we just probably need to tell B, C, and D, you're just not good enough to make the team. But what we do in the culture that we live in now is, you know, we talk about the Johnny gets a trophy. Every Johnny gets a trophy. And as opposed to telling that family, telling that child the truth, we continue to pour into basically a falsehood, and we create a spot for them. As far as greatness, I just feel like that everybody knows it at the end of the day. Like, those kids know that I'm on the D team. So are we really doing them a service by creating a team for them? Or would it be better if they were to just say, you know, hey, I'm not good enough, maybe I can do something else, and look into it and have that honesty rather than continue to live a dream.
Right. So then how do you see that playing into people lowering where greatness is at? Like, the standard of greatness can be lowered then in order for the Johnny gets a trophy mentality. So how do people say that, or what do you say to someone that says, well, let's just lower the bar a little bit so then everyone can have that feeling?
I think that's absolute nonsense. And what immediately comes to mind is on the grading scale. Like, there was a school I saw, there was like a 60 Minutes or something, where there was a school that was lowering the GPA so athletes could participate because of all the ancillary things that come out of participation. They feel that sense of involvement and part of a team and all of the other positives that come out of being on a team. My question is this, though. A, what are you ultimately saying to that student and their family? Like, we're more concerned about your athletic involvement than your academic involvement. 2, or I should say B, life isn't like that. Like, they're not going to lower the bar just so you can participate.
Right.
It's not either you are or you aren't. So again, it goes back to the honesty of, I have this thing I call it reality awareness. It's that point to where I can dream of whatever I want and I have every right. But at some point, reality's got to hit that. And now I have a reality awareness of, you know, I'm probably not going to be the president of the United States right now. I'm probably not going to make it to the NBA right now. Those things were fine to dream of and even aspire to when I was younger. The reality of it is that's probably not going to happen. I feel like we're delaying that process longer and longer by giving young people outlets for longer and longer and not giving them honesty.
Yeah. So with, you know, I have a son. He wants to play basketball.
Sure.
He's okay. I don't know where he's going to be. But let's say he's not A team quality, but he still wants to be involved. What would your advice be to me? What direction should I take my kid then if I know that he's not the best of the best, but he still wants to play?
There are leagues for that.
Right.
that's
Rec leagues, right?
Yeah, that's why. I mean, there are leagues for that. Like, you have competitive leagues, or you have, you know, if we title them elite competition, and recreational leagues. I'm not necessarily a fan of the upward model. I understand it for sure at a young age, but I'm talking about you're taking the competitiveness out of it at a younger age for sure. As you move up, I'm embracing the competitive nature. I want people. We're sitting here in the middle of March, and there's the best time of the year, the best 3 weeks of the year, and every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we see the joy of winning and the agony of defeat instantly. I'm thinking of the Michigan-Texas Tech game, and it's like these kids really think like 3.6 seconds to go, we're up. We're pretty good. 3.6 seconds later, I got my hands in my head and I got tears in my eyes because young people need to enjoy that and need to live both sides of it. I remember Wide World of Sports, and it was the joy of victory, the agony of defeat. That is the definition of sport and competition. And yes, I feel like they need to experience it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about two more things here real quick is with teaching that desire to compete with today's kids and the youth, how do we balance that out? You've kind of alluded this to a little bit, but what's the best way that we could teach them to want to be great without knocking their confidence down a certain level?
Well, individual greatness and not comparative greatness. We live in a culture of comparative greatness. I aspire to be like this person or this group of people so much that if I don't attain it, and more realistically, when I don't attain it, I have no self-value, self-awareness, self-confidence within myself to still recognize my own individualized greatness. I use myself and LeBron James. We're both 6'8". We're from Northeast Ohio. We both play basketball. If I were to put myself into LeBron James's greatness, Jason Wells, would always fall short because I'm not going to play in the NBA, which means I'm not going to win 3 NBA championships, which means I'm not going to win, an NBA Finals MVP. So if that's my only bar, well, I got no choice but to look in the mirror and feel like a failure. So the ability for us as adults to be able to educate and develop and mold even young people to the point of understanding their individual greatness, that's how we eliminate that.
Yeah, I love that thought. Individual greatness versus comparative greatness. So let's kind of wrap up and finish with this is for people watching, whether they're a parent, a coach, or an athlete that's out there, or a student, what's 3 things that each individual could do to raise their individual greatness?
Number 1, self-awareness. And that's one of those things that it's easier said than done. But going back to the things that we've talked about, I feel like it's one of those, it's simple, but it's not easy. Self-awareness. The difficulty lies in the fact that we postpone honesty for so long that we aren't putting young people in situations to be self-aware. And then and B would be that comparative greatness of, I really don't know who I am. I don't know how to get to understand that. So I never really get to that point. So I would say self-awareness as number 1 for sure. Number 2 would be compete. And even if I were to say compare versus or compete versus compare. One thing I hear a lot is if you're talking a young man to a young lady, or if you're talking an older athlete to a younger athlete, or a bigger athlete to a smaller athlete, our human nature is to look at that and say, ooh, I'll take it easy on them. Or to look at that from the opposite and say, I don't stand a chance because of whatever difference there is. Compete. No matter what. Don't look at it like Michael Jordan didn't look at Muggsy Bogues or Spud Webb or any other little guys at that time, shorter guys at that time, and say, oh, well, you're only 5'5", I'll take it easy on you. Like, no, he went at him just like he went at Patrick Ewing and Charles Barkley and the guys that he was going after. Even without a size difference. LeBron James didn't look at Jason Tatum on the first night of opening night of the NBA season and say, "Oh, you're only a 19-year-old kid. You know, I'm in my 15th season. Oh, I've been playing almost as long as you've been born." No, you're in the NBA. It's time to compete. So compete over compare will be the second one. And the third way would be just continuing to learn and grow and develop and just understand, Nike's cliche, there is no finish line. There is no finish line. And that's something that I know you have, I have, other people that are in our circle have. And for me, that's what I'm finding myself attracted to. And what I'm attracting is that doesn't have to be the same. The people that are in your circle, they don't have to be going exactly where you're going. They just have to be going. The definition of death to me is stagnation. You keep moving. I always have this recurring no parking sign playing in my head. It's like, no parking for cars, no parking for me. Continual growth. The awesome part about getting older is you get to decide how you want to receive information. While you're in school, a lot of the information is dictated how it's given to you. You get out of a point where you're out of the educational system. Now I don't necessarily have to read a book. I could watch a video. I could listen to a podcast. There's so many ways to receive information, but they all boil down to that continual growth and development.
Absolutely. I love it. So self-awareness, compete over compare, and continual growth.
For sure.
So we'll be back again next week with another episode of All About the Why. Stay tuned for the weekly episodes. Make sure that you subscribe. Share this out with people that need to hear the message. Peace.